Hey guys, and a warm welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel. I would love for you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and if you are returning, thank you so much for the love and support. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. So in today's video, it's a bit of a motivation, a bit of an encouragement to God's will for our lives, and really a testimony of what God can do when you allow Him to do it. So we're going to be talking about waiting on God today. We're going to be talking about getting married. We're going to be talking about speed in this video. So for those of you who have been following me on this journey, you know that I've had a bit of my ups and downs. Mistakes were made, a lot of disappointment and hurt. And I think it's for a lot of us. Everyone has sort of experienced that moment where you think this is for you and it's really not for you, in relationships, in friendships, in different aspects of our lives. And so you get to a point where you're so broken that you say, God, you know what, I've tried to do it on my own, I'm leaving it to you. And that's sort of the point that I got to, in my dating relationships specifically. I said, you know what, God, I've been burnt a couple of times. I'm a bit hurt, not even a bit, I'm very hurt. And what I thought was for me and what I envisioned for my life turned out to be the complete opposite. So where do I start from? How do I rebuild, myself? How do I rebuild my self-esteem again? And so, breakups are God's way of saying this is not it, but I have something better for you. And so I really want to encourage you in this video to remember the bigger picture. You know what I mean? Like, not to focus just on what you think you want, but really focus on the bigger picture. What does God want for you? And so circling back to me, I was at a point after a long-term relationship that ended where I said, God, you have to do something. I am so tired. I feel like I'm getting older. The pressure shows in a little bit more, and you kind of see family members, you see friends getting married, and you just don't understand what you're doing wrong. And in a separate video, I'm really going to talk more about spiritual warfare, because that's something that is not spoken about enough, especially with marriage, because the enemy hates marriage and he's going to find a way to make sure that you either marry the wrong person or you don't get married at all. I said, God, whoever you have for me at this point, whether he shows up or he doesn't, it's fine. I just don't even know. It's okay. If it doesn't work out for me, this marriage thing that I want, so be it. And when you're at that moment, in that state, is when God really shows up, because he now knows that, okay, you have finally let go of the control. You have finally let go of your desire and your way of trying to make things happen without him. So when that happened, I remember I was just living my life. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on God. I was doing midnight prayers, spiritually on fire, because I had nothing else distracting me. And that's another thing. I feel like God has to isolate you sometimes for your next elevation, and for your next season. And I feel that was it. I was so alone. I will try again, share this in another video, losing friendships and loneliness, but I was really alone, and nobody knew that except my mom, and God. And so that's when I really got so close with God. I said, you know what, you're all I have. And I think I'm okay with that. And I was genuinely fine with that. And then my now husband comes along. So while I was in that period of just really focusing on God, surrendering everything to him, not really caring about relationships, is when my husband came along. And that is to just show you that when you're not looking, when you're not forcing things, that's when it happens. And so a few months later, I remember my husband messaged me. I was like, who is this and what do you want? I felt a sort of peace about him, but at the same time I was scared, and I said, I'm at this point where I really am so focused on God. Could this be a counterfeit? Could this be the enemy sending someone my way that is packaged the perfect way, that looks good, that sounds good, sounds spiritual, but it's probably when I open that package, is something else, you know, and that was my fear, and I needed discernment. I didn't even want to speak to him until I had confirmation from God. I said, look, God, if I don't feel peace, I'm not speaking to this person. And I also told my mom about it, because it's always good to get that secondhand, you know, advice. And so I was like, I put him kind of on a back burner. I said, you know what, you're gonna have to wait. If you're interested in me, you're gonna have to wait. I've been burnt way too many times to do this again. It's really important in this season to not only have discernment, but to pray for confirmation, to pray to God that this is not a counterfeit, because the enemy also knows what you want. He knows what you're expecting, and he can package things to seem that way. I've learned this the hard way, you guys. So I had this peace, I had this confirmation, and my mom did as well. So I said, okay, you know what, let me give this brother a chance. Let's see what he's about. You know, he's clearly interested in me, because he's been trying to just get my attention. So let's give him a chance. We started talking, and I said, okay, you know, the conversation is different. The way he spoke, the way he carried himself was different. And I remember he said, hey, do you want to come to my church? Because that time I was looking for a church. I recently moved to a different city, so I was looking for a new church just to start afresh. And I said, nobody, I don't know how romantic that is to you guys, but it's so romantic to me. Nobody has ever invited me to church. No guy that I've been talking to has invited me to church. I was really pleasantly surprised, and that's what piqued my interest a bit more. I kind of continued talking. I went to his church. I saw how people were kind of talking with him, the respect that, you know, people had whenever they were talking with him. There was sort of like this leadership that he had that I found so attractive. And not to mention, this man was wearing a suit, and you guys know suits and beards are like, yeah. Let's not get it wrong, you guys. Attractiveness, or finding a person attractive, is important. I don't care what anybody says. It's important to find the person you're with attractive. It's not just, you know, spiritual. Of course, the spiritual is above the physical, but let's be honest, you need to be attracted to that person. So I really saw him in a different light, and I liked what I saw, and I was like, okay, you know, this is different. I don't know this guy that well, but this is different, and I like it. It's a good different. He has leaders that he is accountable to. You know, I've never had somebody or dated somebody who is accountable spiritually to someone. And so that was the beginning of something good. I started to, you know, open up a little bit more slowly when I felt comfortable. But it was really just his love for God that piqued my interest. You know, when you get older, there are so many things that you don't care about anymore. Or not that you don't care, but not as important as spiritual things, because you understand that spiritual things rule the physical. So I was like, okay, you know what? I like this guy. Eventually, we started dating. The dating stage didn't even take that long, because this man knew exactly what he wanted. You guys, within a few months, I was engaged. But I'll pause right there just to say this as a confirmation. When I went to this church event in Greece, at that time, I remember the pastor kind of prophesied to me and said, there will be speed in your relationship. There will be speed. What can take somebody so long, you will get faster. When you see him, you will know there will be speed. And so I just kept and then so we fast forward to, you know, our relationship. Within a few months, he's already proposing to me. And before, I would be scared. I'd be like, is this guy a serial killer? This time it was a confirmation. I knew that this was God. We got married within a year. This can only be God. And that's what I want to encourage you. Stick on the word. When somebody shares a testimony, you can believe that for yourself. And that's really the journey that God brought me to, and the season that looked so dark and hopeless, he turned it into something that was only a short stop, you know, and he knew that's what I needed, because I was ready. I was ready to share my life. I was ready spiritually to be a wife, and God knew that my husband was praying for me. And you know, a funny thing is, I was speaking with my husband, and I was like, so what did you have? What list did you have? You know, and he was like, I can't share that with you. That was when we were dating. And then I forced him to share it with me, and he kind of put a list of things that he wanted, and it was so beautiful to see that he was praying for certain characteristics and certain things in a wife, and the same for me, and God brought us together for something so beautiful. And so I hope this video encourages you that if you're in that waiting season, keep on waiting. God has that person for you. If you just broke up with someone that you thought was the one, keep on waiting. God is not man to lie. He's going to bring that person for you. Marriage is from God. Having the desire for marriage is a good thing. Focus on how you present yourself, your spiritual life. Those things are important in positioning yourself to be found and to be seen. And I really believe that your time is coming soon. Your season is coming, and may God continue to give you that patience, and may He continue to guide you to be at the right place at the right time. And so if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, and don't forget to subscribe and comment down below. How did you meet your spouse? If you're married or if you are waiting, share with us what are some tips that you have for the single ladies, and I'll definitely be happy to see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.